My intent for this evening is, well, I say this evening, it's this evening here in the UK, wherever you are around the world. It might be in the morning, the afternoon, or the evening. So I guess, or maybe watching the replay. So I guess my intent for this time together is for you just to stop and just be and relax into this time together and have an experience as we share this time together. I sent an email, those who've seen what I wrote in my emails about. I've done a few talks recently, and a couple of people came up to me in the end of two different talks to say how they felt the whole room just exhale and relax. And that's my intent for you during this time, is to just spend some time off this roller coaster and just be. And I think it's in the time of being we can get greater insights and clarity and resources, because it can be exhausting and tiring to be constantly striving. And we're going to talk about striving a little bit in a minute. And just accept this is really, really tough. And most people, friends and family, won't recognise how tough it is. To be honest, I think most doctors don't recognise how tough emotionally and psychologically this journey can be. I've said before in previous kind of calls like this that Harvard University did a study and showed that the stress levels with women experiencing infertility were equivalent to those with AIDS, cancer, and heart disease. No one tells them just to relax. I think we underestimate the distress that this journey can cause. And my wife had a 10-year journey. So, and we've seen infertility from every angle: male fertility, female, secondary fertility, unexplained. We've been there, done that. I'll explain a bit more our journey later on for those who don't know much about our story. But I think this scene is about accepting how tough it is, and just taking a breath and just being, and just give yourself some self-compassion in this time, some acknowledgement for being on this journey and surviving on this journey. It can cause impact to all sorts of areas of our lives, relationships. Life can feel like it's on hold. People give up their careers to focus on the journey and de-stress their lives. We can feel like we're, peers are, life's moving on for them, and we're being left behind. And it can change friendships. It can do so much. It can stop us going to social things. It can have such a massive impact on all aspects of our lives. And I think the world doesn't recognise that, but sometimes I don't think we recognise it ourselves. So on this time just to be, I don't want you to make any notes. I know this journey we can be striving to research the latest thing that can make the difference, or find out, we can become a bit kind of like medical experts on this journey when we're looking for information, understanding. But in this time together, I don't want you to make any notes. I just want you to be. It's being recorded. You want to get a copy of the recording. You can listen to it many times if you want to play back a little bit, if you want to hear a bit again. So there's no need to make any notes. I want you just to have an experience of just being. What I say is not really important, because my intent for this time is just for you to be, and maybe hear something within you. What I say is not important. It's what you hear within you makes the difference. Your soul knows what's important for you, what is relevant for you, what you need to hear. And my intent is my words just point you somewhere within yourself to hear what you need to hear within you. There's no right or wrong, not just on this journey in life. There really is no right or wrong. There's all sorts of things you could do to try and improve your fertility or improve your chances of getting pregnant. Just because it works for someone else doesn't mean it worked for you, doesn't mean you need to do whatever that thing is. And so often we do things out of fear. My intent for this time is you just to slow down. Just spend this short time together just being. And maybe hear something within yourself. Maybe the brass band of noise in your head can just take a little break. And maybe some glimmers of quietness during this time together. You might hear something that you need to hear. And when you hear it from within you, it has far greater impact. So that's my intent. I am going to talk. I'm going to talk about striving and acceptance. But the intent is that it points you to something within you that you hear, that your soul needs to hear. Your soul knows what's right for you and your body. I touched on already about, often we do things out of fear. I know much on our journey, I was so riddled with fear of us not having a baby. And 8 years into our journey, we got to the lowest point. First, my wife had diagnosed fertility problems from a teenager, and we kind of knew maybe we wouldn't be able to have our own children when we got married. We thought we were okay with that. Turns out that was just a ruse to stop us from feeling the pain of true disappointments. At 8 years into our journey, my wife had a full cycle back. There's no reason why she couldn't have children. And we found out I was infertile. That's about kicking the teeth. That's when we kind of realised how desperately we wanted to have our own children. And we're just kidding ourselves, saying, we're okay with it. So we can foster, we can adopt. That's all true, but we weren't accepting how badly we want to have our own children. It was like a protection mechanism from the pain, but it doesn't really work. I've known most of my life I've been avoiding emotions. Up to this point, this was a turning point in my life for realising I avoided emotions, buried emotions through thinking about things, and keep striving, keep pushing, and don't think about it, don't feel it, just keep going. That just blocks us emotionally and also physically. I got to a stage where my wife started going through a grieving process. She didn't want to. She didn't want to go through it. She didn't want to be the woman that came out the other side. She couldn't believe that you could have peace about this journey without giving up. And part of it didn't want to give up. But almost by chance, she found this place of peace without giving up. And also by chance, she was doing all sorts of things to look after herself, physically and psychologically. But she did find this place of peace without giving up, and she found it, I guess, by accepting her feelings. Accepting how hard it was, and she stopped fighting it in a way. And that's the grieving process. She was grieving the possibility of her own children. But she found this place of peace without giving up, and it sounds quite tough or unrealistic, but it does exist. It really does exist. When I stopped burying my emotions, I too found that place of peace. Place of peace of recognizing we may or may not have our own children, but actually we were okay with that. And that's what I talk about this evening, how maybe you can get to that place of peace without giving up. We're both so convinced on doing everything we can to make it happen, to having our own children, to make it happen. That striving. I remember one Christmas, I said to my wife, this is the last Christmas we have without children. Come hell or high water, next year we're going to make it happen. I don't know how, but it's going to happen. As if I worked harder at it or we were more dedicated, it would happen. And that's the thing about striving. Most of my clients have been successful in different areas of their lives, career, different projects they've run, or relationship. And that element of striving has, in their minds, been served them in some way. They've had a goal, they've gone for it, they've worked hard, they've pushed themselves, and they've generally achieved it. And that's how they've done a lot of their things in their lives. Even from quite a young age, maybe it's school, university, college, work. When it comes to fertility, that approach just doesn't work. In fact, it's actually counterproductive, because often that striving is based on fear. Fear of not achieving whatever that thing you're striving for is. And it's subtle. It's not strong fear, but it's an undercurrent of fear. And often people think they need the element of fear, that edge, that striving, to push them forward, to take steps to be able to achieve these great things. But the truth is, no one performs or operates at their best with any amount of pressure. Even the smallest amount of pressure we're putting on ourselves, it's coming from ourselves. No one performs their best under any amount of pressure. There's nothing wrong with having a goal or aspiration, whether it is the career or having a baby, whatever it may be. But when we're striving towards that, we're often inadvertently feeding the fear. And you may have been successful achieving all sorts of great things with your lives through that striving, but I bet that you would achieve those things with far greater ease and well-being without the striving. When you don't have any fear of failure, you show up more readily, you're more relaxed in being yourself, you show up differently, you perform at your best. The sense of flow. Yes, sometimes things are quite hard work. It's not saying it's about hard work. I'm talking psychologically, that the pressure we put ourselves under. And the pressure is fear, is all future thinking, fear of not achieving it, fear of failing, whatever it may be. And that fear, I'll come on to later about it, but that fear is actually not actually about fertility. I generally don't believe, I can say I don't know I met anyone really, from my own personal experience and all my clients, I've helped hundreds of clients, I don't believe we create new thoughts and beliefs about ourselves and life within our fertility journey. It's thoughts and beliefs we carry about ourselves probably since childhood. But they come to the fore in the fertility journey because the fertility journey is such an emotional roller coaster. Often these things are far more prevalent. But if you look, they've been there in your life, maybe not so strongly. So striving is often based upon fear. I'll never forget one of my first fertility clients, the gynecologist we worked with we worked in our 10-year journey. He was a wonderful gynecologist that crossed the bridge between kind of traditional and Chinese medicine. But when I qualified as a therapist, he started referring patients to me. And one of the first fertility patients I saw was a lady called Michelle. She was 39. She'd gone through 3 rounds of IVF. And she felt the pressure. The pressure of the whole magic 40, where often we think fertility drops like a brick on our 40th birthday. Of course, fertility does degrade over time. There's no magic number, but often, as you know, many women have that 40 kind of milestone in the back of their mind. The clock is ticking and the pressure's on. But also having 3 rounds of IVF, the last one was unsuccessful, but the clinic was confident in doing some changes in protocols. They're quite kind of positive about doing another round. And there are unspoken pressures from her family where in-laws are paying for the treatment and they were very encouraging her to go straight back. In fact, they did the last one in America, go back to America to do another round. And when she came to see me, and my first bit of therapy was to go away. I don't want to see you, work with you for, 3, 4, 5 weeks. Just go and have a holiday, metaphorically, a fertility holiday, or even to go on a physical holiday. She was in no state, physically or emotionally, to go through IVF again. And a lot of people don't consider whether they're ready psychologically for treatment. I'm thankful to work with some gynecologists who contact me and say, I've got this patient. I'm not sure if they're actually in the right space psychologically. Will you have a chat to them? And that's amazing that these gynecologists recognize the psychological impact on the journey, but also how that psychological state can actually impact results. And there's plenty of research now that shows how your mind and body are one system. And even in fertility, how it's research both on natural conception and IVF, where stress has impacted and does indicate it impacts success rates. So Michelle came to see me, and thankfully she could sense it was the right thing to do, just take a little break. Not years, just a couple of weeks, couple of months maybe. And I know on our journey, it felt like we got to the stage where my wife had a full cycle. We think, hey, I've done it. We got there. There's no reason why she can't get pregnant. We'll still be young, healthy. Then we got my test result, and no one suggested I got a test up to that point. And we tried for almost a year. Of course, as you know, we become quite experts on this journey. And we had sensed something else was wrong. I did a test, it was disastrous. And it felt like running a marathon, getting to the end, and then you'd be told, oh no, you haven't finished, you've got to do it all again. This time it's going to be harder. I use that analogy with Michelle, and it really resonated. She just finished a marathon, 3 marathons back to back. She needed a break. So thankfully she took that advice and had a few weeks off and came back to see me. We worked together for a number of weeks before basically preparing her mind and her body for the next cycle of IVF. And she said she went into that cycle feeling very, very different, mentally and physically. Very different to any other cycle she had before, and she was successful. And often that striving, it disempowers us. Striving for whatever you're striving for puts the power into that thing we're striving for. That almost a sense of our okayness, our happiness or fulfillment, is all dependent on achieving that goal. But actually it's quite disempowering. And I think the title today was Striving versus Acceptance. For me, the opposite of striving could be acceptance. Now, what do I mean by acceptance? People have a lot of connotations, assumptions about what we mean, what I mean, or what acceptance means. The first thing to say is, when I talk about acceptance is not giving up. Acceptance is not accepting it's never going to happen. Acceptance is actually nothing about the future or may not happen in the future. Acceptance is accepting where you are today, in this moment, right now. And accepting you're okay in this moment, right now. Most of the distress we have, and stress and anxiety and fear, it's all future thinking. It's never going to happen, will it ever happen? And it's all that kind of stuff. I know for me on the journey, I could be fine, but if I saw a young family, particularly a father with his young son or daughter, young child, it was just like a kick in the stomach. I was winded, and suddenly you'd be fine, and suddenly you're feeling this sick feeling, overwhelming grief that I may never have that experience. And that's all future thinking. I may never have it. Nothing can predict the future, not even our thinking. Acceptance is nothing to do with the future. The future doesn't exist, only in our thinking. Acceptance, accepting where we are today, that we're okay today. As you sit here or as you listen to this, you're okay. You're safe. I assume physically safe. You've probably got food in the fridge. You're okay in this moment. And nothing can predict the future. Nothing can predict the future, not even your thinking. We got pregnant naturally against all odds. 1 in a billion chance we're told it could happen naturally. Nothing can predict the future. Not even doctors can predict the future. They're great at diagnosis. They can tell you what's happening in your body in this moment. They can't tell you what's going to happen. Prognosis is an estimate. Doctors are great at diagnosis. They're not so good at prognosis because nothing can predict the future. And you're thinking, you say, yeah, but what about this? And all the evidence, the proof, the evidence, and doctors make the best diet and prognosis they can based on their experience. But at the end of the day, nothing can predict the future. So come back to the here and now. Acceptance is about accepting where you are today. Doesn't mean you don't want things to be different in the future. Doesn't mean you want to change the direction of your life or make some changes or achieve something. But it's about accepting where you are today. For me, acceptance is the WD-40 of change. For those who don't know what WD-40 is, it's a spray can of oil that it fixes everything. One of those versatile tools in the toolbox is a can WD-40 and a hammer. So the squirty will hit it, normally fixes most things. I'm a qualified engineer, so I can say that. See, WD-40 of change is the oil that, for me, oil's the coals of change. And I'm explaining what I mean by that. Without acceptance, often we tether ourselves to our current state. I'll give an example. Imagine someone wants to lose weight, and quite often people want to lose weight, they have these kind of yo-yo diets. But often have these yo-yo diets because they're not accepting who they are, that they're okay in this moment. Part of them thinks they need to be different to be okay, and they're not accepting who they are. They're waiting for them to be different before they accept themselves. And what happens is we tether ourselves. So imagine this is post. There's a post here, and we're trying to get over here. And without acceptance, inadvertently, we're wrapping like a huge bungee between us and the post. And we're making our way to where we want to be. We're doing really well, sticking to the diet, but doing really, really good, seeing the progress, and working really hard, sticking to it with that willpower. And then one chocolate biscuit, then I'm going back to square one. So I'll start again tomorrow. And then the willpower goes out the window. And we try and start again. And for me, that bungee that tethers ourselves is that lack of acceptance. But you're okay in this moment. And the lack of acceptance is a fear of not being okay. And actually what's under that fear is often a limiting belief. Again, it's probably been there from childhood. Fear of not being good enough. Fear of not being worthy. Fear of not being lovable. Fear of failure, whatever it may be. And often we don't make that kind of connection from fear. And often I do with my clients, and my first conversation with prospective clients, we start to uncover what is going on. And once I had a conversation with a lady, she said, well, I'm struggling to get pregnant, but I'm not sure there's anything psychologically, but would you be open to having a chat just to make sure? I said, yeah, sure. Within half an hour, she had this boom, aha moment that there's been the background of her mind, this kind of limiting belief. She had no idea it's connected to her fertility journey. So the lack of acceptance is often fear of not being okay. Because those thoughts, those stories in our head that we think we need X, Y, Z to be okay, it points us in the wrong place for our well-being. It tells us our sense of okayness is dependent on something external to us. Whether it's having a baby, or people thinking good of us, or proving our worth in some way. Having external, subconscious, hidden, invisible, subconscious measure of okayness, worthiness in this physical world. And that's natural to have those kind of thoughts. We pick them up along the way, but exactly what they are, they're thoughts. Beliefs are just thoughts we have fairly frequently. They're not true, they're not fixed, they're thoughts in this moment. So this fear is pointing us in the wrong place for what we're looking for psychologically. It's pointing what I call outside in. When the truth is we're born with innate well-being. We're born, often ask prospective clients, what will having a baby give you? And it's often things like fulfillment, love, purpose. We're born with those things. Love, sense of love, lovability, knowing we're loved, feeling love, feeling complete. And the sense of purpose comes from being us. The sense of purpose comes from being free to be us in any given moment. To express ourselves, to be ourselves, to follow our passions, our soul's desires, whatever that may be. But often this outside-in thinking we habitually have disconnects us from our soul. And we're looking for a sense of fulfillment in the outside world. It's like being a hamster, we'll never get there. All my life, and this came to light in our fertility journey, all my life I've been living, I'll be happy when. I'll be happy when I've proved to my mum I'm a good boy. I'm happy when I've got good exam results and prove to my mum and the teachers I'm good enough. Prove to myself I'm good enough. I'll be happy when I get my degree. I'll be happy when I have a good career. I'll be happy when we get married and settle down. And it's always the next thing. That sense of achievement or proving ourselves or anything external, it's a new phone or new car or new job or whatever, gives us a good feeling for a while, but it doesn't last. What lasts is that sense of fulfillment and peace of mind within us. We're born with that. Look at toddlers. They spend most of the time just being okay. Just being themselves, content, fulfilled. That's how we're designed to be. And people think, well, is that possible? We're not toddlers, we're adults with responsibilities and mortgages and all sorts of things, yeah. But psychologically, we're born that sense of okayness. Sense of whatever happens, we're going to be okay. Toddlers don't worry about tomorrow. They don't get hung up about yesterday. They live more in the moment. And as a human being, we're designed to be in the moment. We have all the resources we need to thrive in this moment. Not in our la-la land future. What may or may not happen in the future, that's all imagination in our head. Fear is the misuse of imagination. Worry is the misuse of imagination. It's fueled by seeking that sense of okayness, but looking in the wrong place that you're born with. We all have it within us, but sometimes this brass band of thinking in our head drowns it out. But the times you feel most content, you're just being. You haven't done anything to get into that state, you drop into it and at least try to think. And the more we understand that our well-being is within us, and the more we understand all the feelings we feel on this journey are thoughts. Our fear is thoughts, thinking about the future. We're not scared of what we think we're scared of. We're not scared of not having a baby. We're scared of what we think. We're scared of the thought of not having a baby. When we realise where our fears come from, we don't have to be scared. It's going to happen. It's about not ever feeling fear. We're humans. We're going to feel all sorts of emotions. You don't know where it's come from. It's not come from your future, because you can't feel the future. It's not come from you. It's your thinking about life. And the more we understand the source of fear, that it's the misuse of imagination. It's insecure thoughts. You don't have to be scared of it. When it shows up, you don't have to be scared of it. You can just move on. It gives it less power. And another word, I use acceptance quite a lot, but actually, I guess what I really mean is allowance. Again, depends what we mean by the deep structure of a word. Sometimes people think of acceptance. It can presuppose that there's something negative or bad we have to accept. But allowance is, for me, is another deeper word to just to know it's all okay. Allow it. Nothing to fight. Nothing to bitter pill to swallow. Just allow it. You don't have to think it's a negative. Fear is not negative. It's just a thought. It doesn't mean anything. It's just never the feeling that causes a problem. The feeling of fear does not cause a problem. It's the meaning we take from it. Because see it for what it is, you can just move on. Anxiety is never a problem. Well, the problem is people they're stressed about being anxious. They think, well, because I'm anxious, it means X, Y, Z. It means I'm sabotaging my chances of getting pregnant. And it's all that. The meaning we apply to it, that's worse. That causes more anxiety. That makes the anxiety overwhelming. And that can cause an impact to our body. But the initial feeling, whatever it is never the problem. It's our thinking about it. When we see it for what it is, a thought in this moment, insecurity, imagination, we don't have to be scared of it. We can allow it. We can accept it, allow whatever word you want to use. And it just moves on. Our state of being is always moving on. Like a toddler having a tantrum, it moves on. They go back to being okay without any intervention, without any breathing, mindfulness. Our brain's the same. It just moves on. Fresh experiences always coming in if we allow it. If we stop fighting it, if we stop resisting it, stop resenting it. And we can do that, we know what's creating it is thought in this moment. And we can do that, we know our well-being is within us. Whatever we're experiencing, our well-being is within us. So for me, acceptance is not giving up. Accepting this moment, you're okay in this moment. Acceptance is the WD-40 of change. From which you can't leave a place you haven't been to. If you're resisting reality, resisting, okay, this is where I am today, you can't move on from it. You can't leave a place you haven't been to. And resisting reality, that gets uncomfortable. We talk about this journey being an emotional roller coaster, life's a bit of a roller coaster. Trying to resist where the roller coaster is going gets really uncomfortable. But if you could know you're okay whatever happens, but there's an energy behind life that's loving and divine, and it's got our back. And wherever life takes us, we can still be fulfilled and content. Sometimes we need to let go of the life we plan to have, the life that this energy behind life wants to give us, and to trust. Maybe it's even better. There's not one answer to happiness. There's not one answer to fulfillment. Because they're not dependent on single answers in this physical world. They come from within us. And the greatest kind of breakthrough in my journey was recognizing that actually it was possible to be fulfilled with or without children. I still wanted it to include children. We still went to the clinic. We still pursued our journey. But from that moment, there was far less pressure. There was a greater sense of flow and openness and possibility to life. Instead of saying this is the one way, the only way we can ever be happy and fulfilled, suddenly life became like a blank canvas almost, and there was all sorts of possibilities. Life began to flow again. My body began to flow again. My fertility went through the roof dramatically without even trying to improve it. When I was trying all these things, it was actually making it worse. And I can look back now and see it's my fear. I was feeding my fear. That's what made it worse. Acceptance is not giving up. Accepting is accepting you're okay in this moment. And I want you to try this. I want you to, if possible, say this out loud, depending on where you're listening to this. You might be listening to this on the replay on your commutes, but so on the bus or the train, so maybe not on the bus or the train, but if you're alone or somewhere where you can say this out loud. If you can't say it out loud, just say it in your head. But if you can say it out loud, I really encourage you to say it out loud. I want you to say this phrase out loud, but then listen to an internal response. Listen to what thoughts or feelings come up as a response to saying it. And the phrase is, I accept myself as I am today. I accept myself as I am today. And just notice what response comes up. Because I know for a lot of people it's, I'm not sure I believe it. No, I don't believe it. No, I can't. It's not uncommon. That's often a sign that there's something there. A limiting belief or thought or fear that's stopping you being, that thinks your okayness is dependent on something external, subconsciously. And it's not necessarily about having a baby, so it starts probably as a kid. Those thoughts happen out of all innocence and they continue out of habit. And you're not your thinking. It's not who you are. In fact, I think I wrote my weekly email today about that. Who are we in our thinking? We're not our thinking, we are the observer of our thinking. You're not who you think you are.